On May 11th, just a few days ago, Coinbase was notified that they had been hacked. They had been hacked by a hacker, and that hacker had huge amounts of data. What sort of data did they have? They had names, addresses, phone numbers, emails of customers, along with masked social security numbers, the last four digits, masked bank account numbers, and bank account identifiers, government identification images like driver's licenses and passports. So the images of your scanned driver's license and whatnot, account data, including balance snapshots and transaction histories, as well as corporate data, such as training material and documentation and the like. Huge amounts of data, crazy amounts of data. Exactly how many customers and what, I don't know. It's a lot of data. But the hacker was demanding a $20 million ransom. Otherwise, they would release the data. Now, Coinbase has responded and said, you know what? We're not going to pay that ransom. We're not going to negotiate with terrorists. We're not going to pay the $20 million. In fact, the word is that Coinbase instead is offering a $20 million bounty for figuring out who the hacker is. So they're offering up a $20 million bounty to whoever can identify who the hacker is instead of paying the hacker. Okay, I'm not a huge crypto guy. I'm not like a supporter or really against Coinbase. I feel pretty indifferent towards them, but that's a pretty awesome move. I like that move. However, in a filing, because they have to file this sorts of thing, Coinbase says that the damages may be upward of $400 million when all is said and done. I'm just going to read this little filing that they put in here. On May 11th, 2025, Coinbase Incorporated, a subsidiary of Coinbase Global, received an email communication from an unknown threat actor claiming to have obtained information about certain Coinbase customer accounts, as well as internal Coinbase documents, including material relating to customer service and account management systems. The communication demanded money in exchange for not publicly disclosing the information. The threat actor appears to have obtained this information by paying multiple contractors or employees working in support roles outside of the United States to collect information from internal Coinbase systems to which they had access in order to perform their job responsibilities. These instances of personnel accessing data without business need were independently detected by the company's security monitoring in the previous months. So this has been going on for some months. Upon discovery, the company had immediately terminated the personnel involved and also implemented a heightened fraud monitoring protection and warned customers whose information was potentially accessed in order to prevent misuse of any compromised information. Since receipt of the email, which happened on May 11th, Coinbase has assessed the email to be credible and has concluded that these prior instances of improper data access were part of a single campaign known as the incident that succeeded in taking data from internal systems. The company has not paid the threat actor's demand and is cooperating with law enforcement in the investigation of this incident. Just wild. It continues here because this is crazy. These numbers are nuts. While Coinbase has not experienced material operational impacts from these events as of the date hereof, so as of a couple days ago, or actually I think today maybe, the full financial impact of the incident on the company is still in the process of being assessed. Based on the information available to the company, to Coinbase, on the date hereof, and based on facts that continue to evolve, the company has preliminarily estimated expenses to be within the range of approximately, hold on to your trousers, 180 million to 400 million US dollars, relating to remuneration costs and voluntary customer reimbursements relating to this incident prior to further review of potential losses, indemnification claims, and potential recoveries, which could meaningfully increase or decrease this estimate. The company plans to aggressively pursue all remedies as the company's investigation is ongoing. The full impact of these events are not yet known. $400 million, which, quote, could meaningfully increase. Holy heavens. And the amount of data is nuts. I mean, all right, a few things here. A few things outside of the fact that, and we've talked about this at the Lunduke Journal so many times, that the more complex a system gets, the more accessible to hacks it becomes. And this wasn't necessarily even those sorts of scenarios. This was the sort of scenario where the human element was more involved, right? It was more of a Mitnick style thing, where we had people essentially being bribed to misuse their access to internal systems within that corporation in order to provide data, right? They were bribing people to gain access, which they then turned around, took that data, and then used it to essentially have a ransom demand of the company. Now, it's hard to completely get rid of that human aspect, right? According to what Coinbase is saying here, they detected it some months ago. So this has been ongoing for months now, which is not unusual. Last year, we had the Internet Archive hacks. Many of you will remember when the Internet Archive went offline for like a month and was barely operational after that for some time because they got pretty brutally hacked. Now, that doesn't look like it was one of those someone internal was bribed sort of things. It was just technical details, complicated system. They managed to find a vulnerability and hack their way in. But even then, it looks like those hackers had access to the system for a good long time before anyone knew about it, before anyone was notified about it. And it looks like a similar thing happened here. Even how long did people have access to data prior to it being detected? Unknown. Right? Unknown. Maybe a long time, maybe a short period of time. But how long from that point until they contacted the company? Well, it sounds like months. And this sort of thing happens regularly. When you look at the data being compromised, internal systems and servers being compromised, either through the human component or through software vulnerabilities and network vulnerabilities, there's a huge lag time there. We only hear about the instances that get discovered and reported publicly, which is a teeny tiny itty bitty super dinky fraction. It's an itty bitty teeny weeny polka dot bikini of the total number of hacks that happen, right? Most hacks are not detected. And of the ones that are detected, most are not reported publicly. That's just the reality. That's just the truth. Everyone who works for any length of time in these companies, you know that that's the truth. You just do. It's a thing. It maybe shouldn't be the reality, but it is. And even when it is reported, there's usually a significant lag time. Like if you go to ihavebeenpwned.com, you'll see reports there of massive data breaches. And like, oh my gosh, new data breach reported, say today's May 15th, new data breach on May 15th. Well, it turns out that data breach was from 2023, like 2 years ago, right? But we just found out about it now. That's the norm. That's not even just fairly common. That's how things almost always work. Now, in this case, we're finding out about the notification of the breach pretty quickly after the company was notified. So apparently the company was notified on May 11th, where this news really broke today. So I mean, that's a 4-day lead time. That's pretty fast. Now, the initial data breach actually occurred months earlier, and we don't even know how much that is. So that's one part of this that's kind of interesting. The other side of it is how much data is tied to people's cryptocurrency accounts using these large online data brokers and online wallets. And that's by law. And I think it's reasonable to have these discussions around this. These systems like Coinbase are very, very high profile, high value targets. Lots of customers, lots of end users, huge amounts of data, not even considering the fact that that data is tied to financial transactions. Just the data, the names, the addresses, the emails, the social security last 4 digits, your government identification, an image of it. Oh my word, that's a lot of data. That is a huge amount of data. And with so many customers using it, that becomes a very high profile and very tempting target for anyone who wants to breach a system, right? There's all sorts of things naughty things you could do with all that data, right? So the more that these systems have of that data, the more likely there are to be people that are trying to gain access to it. So it's over time, systems become more complicated, so they become more vulnerable. Over time, these corporations become bigger, which means more employees, which means more vulnerabilities in the human factor, right? Of being able to bribe people or trick people into providing information. Hi, this is IT support. Yeah, could I have your password real quick? I need to reset your account. Oh, sure. And you'd think, oh, no one's that stupid. People fall for that all the time. Still, in 2025, people fall for that all the time. It's ridiculous. And there's a million other ways to trick or con or bribe or blackmail people into providing information that they may not even know is able to be used to hack into and cripple a system or get vulnerable information. And so as that is all happening, and as these systems become more enticing with more valuable data, like Coinbase, oh my gosh, I mean, we're talking about financial transactions and pictures of your driver's license and your passport. I mean, that's a lot of data to be obtained by someone unscrupulous. The potential return on investment of hacking into those systems is really, really high. And so there's just more breaches like this inevitably are going to keep ramping up. And there really is no way to properly secure these systems, with all things considered, with not just the human element, but with the increasing complexity of these highly interconnected systems. No matter how much time and resources are spent to secure them in every which way from Sunday, they're going to, over time, become increasingly less secure and increasingly more enticing of a target. It's like having a bank vault that you keep shoveling money into, so the amount of money in there keeps growing, but you also keep installing new doors and new windows and new vents, and you keep giving more people keys because it's easier that way. And maybe you put in some new security cameras, but those security cameras are all IP-based security cameras, and they all go through a Cisco web front end that you can log into, and it just has a little JavaScript UI to log into. Like, they become so increasingly complicated with more and more avenues for vulnerability. You're done for. You're toast. So, I mean, it's not exactly surprising that we saw a hack, this particular hack from Coinbase, because it's almost not even a hack. It's just, I guess it's a hack. It's one of those human factor hacks. Anyway. It's really wild. We'll see what happens with this as it goes. We'll see if they figure out who the hacker was. This is all moving fairly quickly. So with a $20 million, I think that's what they're doing, a $20 million bounty out on whoever turns in who the hacker is. Maybe that'll happen quickly. I don't know. We'll find out. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making all this possible. You can donate to the Lunduke Journal via Bitcoin if you go to lunduke.com. But rest assured, the Bitcoin wallet that goes to is not hosted on Coinbase. It is a self-run wallet. But thank you to all the subscribers to the Lunduke Journal for making all of this possible. Big tech free, advertisement free, truly independent, non-woke tech journalism. Look, it even says it right there on lunduke.com. What a great website, man. Whoever put that HTML together, man, they really remember the 1990s. With that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes, I do declare, end broadcast.